Man, oh man, talk about getting taken behind the woodshed live on camera. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about Dr. Rand Paul destroying Dr. Anthony Fauci live on camera. Now, I do have video of this, but before we get into it, I got to back up a little bit here to explain to you what's going on, just so we're on the same page with each other. Now, Dr. Fauci is the head of the NIH. That's the National Institute of Health. And under Fauci, the NIH granted money to a private U.S. company. This company then gave money to the lab in Wuhan for gain-of-function research. Now, the theory is that this research is what caused a bunch of viruses to be there, and one of them leaked and caused the pandemic that has cost millions of lives. Now, Rand Paul was grilling Fauci about this, saying, hey, it was your people while you were there, you were in charge, you gave the money, you funded the research, take responsibility. And Fauci does not want to do that and wants to try to attack Rand Paul for asking valid questions. Now, before I go any further, let's roll the clip. In this clip, you're going to see and hear what I was talking about in full color, in full context. After we get done with that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you my 2 cents, my deep detail analysis, and then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
The Wuhan lab used NIH funding to construct novel chimeric SARS-related coronaviruses able to infect human cells and laboratory animals. This is high-risk research that creates new potential pandemic pathogens that exist only in the lab, not in nature. This research matches, these are Dr. Ebright's words, this research matches, indeed epitomizes, the definition of gain-of-function research done entirely in Wuhan, for which there was supposed to be a federal pause. Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans,
right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get
NIH,
one person.
Let's read from the NIH definition of gain of function. This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
And let's let Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now you're getting into something. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well,
we don't
wait
know
a minute.
If it did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because if you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports, that were published in the literature, It is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
no
is
one is alleging that
molecularly.
those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That
you
is
can't
not.
get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
I'm not obfuscating the truth.
Senator
You are the
Paul's
one.
time is expired, but I will allow the witness to.
Let me just finish. I want everyone to understand that if you look at those viruses, and that's judged by qualified virologists and evolutionary biologists, those viruses are molecularly impossible
No one's
to
saying
result
they are. No
in
one's saying those viruses
SARS-CoV-2.
caused the pandemic.
Senator Paul,
We're saying they are gain-of-function viruses because they were
they're not.
animal viruses that became more transmissible in human, and you funded it.
And
Don't
you
admit the truth.
and you
Senator
implying
Paul, your time has expired, and I will allow witnesses who come before this committee to respond. Dr.
and you are implying that what we did was responsible for the deaths of individual. I totally resent
could
that.
have
And
been.
if anybody
could
is
have been.
lying here, Senator, it is you.
All right, you saw that, you heard that. Now, that right there was an excellent performance, an excellent showing by Rand Paul. If I could have Rand Paul and Ron DeSantis as president, vice president, doesn't matter who is who, I take that ticket in a heartbeat. Rand Paul is fantastic. And what he said there is right on point. My question to Fauci would be, how can you say that the definition that you guys wrote for gain-of-function research is not that? I mean, who am I going to believe, you or my own lying eyes? I can read what he wrote with my own two eyes, and I can see what happened, and it matches up. How are you going to say that's not what happened? You took, allegedly, some viruses that were only animal to animal and then made them more potent to transmit to humans, and now we have the pandemic. Because remember, when it first happened, the WHO were saying, oh, no, it's only animal viruses. It can't go to humans. And now we know that's not true. Why is it not true? Probably because of the gain-of-function research. That's probably what happened. They were doing the gain-of-function research in this lab in China, and China is notorious for being filthy, no protocols for safety. I'll get to that in a minute. They're notorious for that, and then here comes a leak. And I do believe it was a leak. I don't think it was on purpose because they hurt their own people too, and before they shut off international travel, they shut off their own travel. So they ain't really care about the rest of the world. They cared about their own people though. So I don't believe it was on purpose. I think that it was a leak. And if you know about China, you know how gross they are. To get back to what I was alluding to a little while ago, China's gross. You go to a hospital in Beijing, like the top of the line spots, good luck finding a bar of soap. A bar of soap in a hospital. Yeah, talking about germs, stuff like that. First world country, I can't tell. Try finding a bar of soap. They don't fix things. You have shoddy construction, and they're just not really up to U.S. standards. That's just the reality. So when you have very dangerous viruses in like the Wuhan lab and the U.S. is funding it, it's like, okay, where's the responsibility? Where's the understanding that this could go wrong? It could go totally wrong. I read that there allegedly was some kind of inspection there and before the pandemic, and they said that things weren't really right and there was a bunch of things missing. It didn't have some of the basic materials you need there. And I don't know what happened. Was it ignored or what? I don't have no idea. But whatever the case may be, we have a clear idea of what went down. And I think it's becoming more mainstream as far as the lab leak theory. Because like I said in previous videos, at one point, you couldn't even say that on Facebook. If you were to say that the virus came from a lab, oh, that's misinformation, the conspiracy theory, all this, that, and the third. Well, I can't tell. It appears like that's the case. I mean, that's the plausible. Where else did it come from? Just randomly in nature? So, like the first story was it came from a random bat just out there in the wild. It's like, really? You have a whole gain-of-function lab right here. You got bats and everything right here. They experiment on, they're making viruses more potent right here at this lab. So rather than looking at this lab as a possible leak spot, you look at this market where they're selling street meat at as the reason why it happened. I mean, come on, let's be serious. Let's stop playing games. It came from the lab, allegedly, which makes the most sense. And the reason why is probably because China is trash. China does not have very good safety protocols. They're kind of dirty. So it could have happened any kind of way. It could have been somebody just being just lazy, not washing their hands, anything. Who knows? Their suit being contaminated, I have no idea. But as I close, I want to say this. Shout out to Rand Paul for keeping his foot on Fauci's neck. And Fauci's not going to admit it. It doesn't matter how much truth, how much evidence, how much reality that Rand Paul brings. I'm talking about documented physical evidence. It doesn't really matter because Fauci is going to deny until he dies. That's what they do. And really, why would you want to admit it even if you're guilty? Because you're talking about millions of lives. You're talking about the world economy being disrupted. Everything in the whole world, not just the U.S., but the whole world being disrupted because of what your people did, because of your people's money, not really checking what's going on, doing things willy-nilly, allegedly. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? How do you feel about the debate back and forth between Fauci and Rand Paul? Whatever your thoughts on that are, let me know in the comments below. Do you think Rand Paul was right? Fauci was right? How do you feel about either one of them? You know, I'm seeing some really weird comments on the Twitters, on the social medias, Facebooks, etc. They're talking about, you know, Fauci, I love Fauci. He's like my dad. It's like, really? You need to get a better role model, sir, but I digress. I'm seeing some really weird things. I'm not worried about who's more likable. That's totally irrelevant. My thought process is on trying to find the facts. And it looks like Rand Paul had facts. Document, paperwork, evidence, everything. He had the facts. Fauci, on the other hand, came from a defensive place, trying to defend himself and his reputation. Not really about bringing facts, in my humble opinion. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.